All right, so for part 2 of this question, it says describe and interpret at least 2 features visible on the graph of years since debut versus number of caps awarded for the rugby players representing New Zealand and Fiji. All right, so this question is a bit of an interesting question. It wants you to sort of pick out anything that's interesting here. So I guess you can talk about clusters of data. So there's clusters of data, and I'll show you where they are. So there's clusters of data really here, so between 0 and 2 years. So between 0 to 2 years since debut. And then there's also this cluster of data here. It's like a band. So a band between 3.5 years, 3 and 3.5, sorry. A band between 3 to 3.5 years. And then there's also sort of this bit of a lump here between 5 and 7.5 kind of thing going on here. And a group between 5 to 7.5 years, which is interesting because it seems to have gaps in between it due to the gaps between. Okay, so that's one. Another thing that you might want to talk about is the unusual, like high ones up here. Okay, so then there's the unusually high caps for players that debuted. I don't know how to at around sort of 5.5 years. The other one was at about 6.5 years, and the third one was about 7.5 years. And these caps ranged between sort of 70 to 80, which is bigger than the rest of them. Okay, so that's another point. So we've got 1 and 2. So we said at least 2, but really want to put as many as possible. So another thing that you might want to talk about here is like these really high ones. So at past 10 years, the caps become extremely high, which lowers your confidence in predictions. Sort of that relationship there. And then you might also want to talk about the strength. So the strength is strong at the beginning, at lower years, but becomes pretty weak. So a weak relationship there. Okay, so that's about 4 there. Now, if you, one successful feature that's clearly identified will give you a U, 2 successful features will give you an R, and 3+ will give you the excellence there. So merit for R, U for achieved. Yep, so just make sure that you put as many things down as you can see.